I am Cora Jokinen with Torque Masters Industries, and you're listening to Gearheads and Gasoline.
The youth engagement, we have a lot of kids. We are literally across the street from a high school. So every year there's always at least one or two kids that are hang-arounds, and they're my favorite kids. They're usually the ones that honestly don't do super great in academics, but they're sharp as a whip. And so they want to come around, they'll hang out, they'll, clean up a little bit, sometimes part hunt for us, and then we start sanding, and then they're out
I
of
was gonna
here.
say, do you have them
So
sand?
yes, we
Yeah.
try. I mean, we try. And honestly, I am not joking. Every single prospective student that we've had, the second we start sanding, they're out of here. It sucks. I know sanding sucks. You still got to do it.
Welcome to the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, where we dive into the high-octane world of market-leading shop owners, shop employees, and automotive enthusiasts from the aftermarket, restoration, performance, and racing industries. So strap in as we take you on an awesome journey with our guests as they share their real-life stories, lessons learned, business advice, and unfiltered insights to help you beat the school of hard knocks. Gearheads and Gasoline, fueling your success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gearheads and Gasoline podcast, powered by Redline Oil and AMD. I'm Barry Alt with Motorhead Digital, and joining me as co-host today is Jason Chandler from Automotive Direct. Today, we're excited to welcome Amy Fitzgerald, co-owner of Cool Hand Customs, to the show. Amy is part of a unique husband and wife team that works on every aspect of the business together. They've been referred to as small but mighty. Welcome, Amy.
Hey, how's everyone doing?
Great to have you, Amy.
Yeah, great to have you.
So to get us started here, we always ask the question, and there's no wrong answer. So what is your favorite drink of choice?
My favorite, what is that?
Your favorite drink?
My favorite drink.
Be adult beverage. It could be coffee. What kind? You tell us.
Well, I am a coffee junkie. That is probably my biggest and worst vice. So that is my favorite all the time drink. My favorite adult drink is probably some sort of a good wine.
Oh, nice. Red or white?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Usually a sweet dessert white. Someone's going to burn me out here being in Wisconsin. I should have just said beer, any beer, all beer, whatever beer.
Whatever. Not PBR, Jason?
Yeah.
Jason's favorite.
Oh, hey, PBR is a good beer.
Favorite. That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I'm doing the coffee bit today. I'm in the second cup. So anyway, Amy, we're excited to have you here. And I understand that Cool and Customs has been around for about 20-ish years, pushing that number. And you were in construction before that. That's a big shift. What caused you to go into the automotive space?
Well, in 2008, we had a 4-year-old at home, a little girl, and we had been in construction and remodeling for 10 years at that point, building parade homes. Just EJ and I, we had a couple part-time employees once in a while. That is awesome. And then the Great Recession, as everyone calls it, comes by. And we were looking at losing our house and losing the business and had no idea what we were going to do. And we're at dinner with my parents, went over to their house, kind of just to cry on their shoulder and, tell them about how bad things were. And my mom really was like, well, what do you want to do? And both EJ and I had always been interested in cars and motorcycles, him primarily motorcycles to start out, me cars. She's like, well, why don't you do something with that? And we kind of pondered it. It seemed like a very odd thing. Well, what exactly are we going to do with that? And he's a very, very accomplished airbrush artist. So we started there. We started airbrushing motorcycles in our 400 square foot garage at home. We got a tiny little 6x8 paint booth and started the shop. 18 months later, realized that within 18 months that we could not do it in our 400 square foot garage. So we bought the building that we're in now. And it was growing. That very first year, we started on April 1st of 2008. So we, kind of
It
made
was
a joke
still
of it.
deep in the recession then, for sure.
Yes,
It was
it
still
was.
deep then. I remember, man.
Well, and if we were going down, we might as well go down doing something we wanted to do instead of coming home with slivers every day and just hating our jobs. We just hated it. And so we just decided that that was the way to go. And it was an insane adventure for borrowing 10 grand, starting in a little garage. And our very first SEMA was that year. And we built a truck that we took to SEMA our first year in
The
business. It was
first
like,
year,
oh, first year.
oh,
Yep.
you
So
jumped
this
right
was,
in with both feet, for sure.
we did. And honestly, it was kind of odd. We had no idea what SEMA was at the time because we weren't in the industry. We had never really even heard of it, knew what it was about, got the opportunity to build this truck, take it out there. It was so long ago that when we arrived with the truck, we drove in and we were right in front of Central Hall and they're like, "Oh, that's good." And that's where the truck was parked.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Now there's like roped off air, the lines on the ground with numbers, and it's all
Yes.
very,
Yep.
very focused and coordinated, for sure.
Yeah, it was so much smaller. It was such a different show back then that, yep, all right, this looks good. And we get out and we're, right out in front of Central Hall, which really didn't mean anything to us then because we had no idea what we were getting into. And yeah, that first show and going to the banquet, it was kind of solidified. Oh, we have arrived. This is where we belong. This is the industry we're supposed to be in.
It's interesting how things like, change in the economy can change people's direction, or a slowdown in business just in general, whether it's
Yeah.
economy or not. And talking to other people, them coming up. I mean, I had that same thing with Motorhead Digital, right? We were doing marketing for anybody, and I had a good friend of mine said, "Why'd you do car stuff? You're a car guy. You went to school for cars. You love it, right?" And so uh, it's interesting. We've heard lots of stories like that. What's it like being a husband-wife team, especially a female in the industry?
It's an adventure. We get a lot of like, how in the world do you guys do that every day? Because we literally are together 24/7. We're either working at the shop together or working after hours at home together. And fortunately, I married my best friend. So we were friends long before we were married and we just have a very good working relationship. I take over where he has weaknesses and he takes over where I have weaknesses. It's taken years to be able to recognize what your own personal weaknesses are in your own business and not want to always take the reins on everything and always be in control of it because it doesn't work. So figuring those dynamics out, I mean, we are just in our 19th year. So it's not like it was, day one that we had this figured out, but it's a lot of fun. It really is. We often say that we're the luckiest people in the world. We get to do what we love and we're doing it together every day.
Yeah, you're not at each other's throats apparently, or you wouldn't have made it this long, for sure.
Right.
And I can tell you, I talked to Amy a couple times over the past week, and what was she doing when I called? Sanding. And,
Yes.
and a week later, I
Spend
called her.
more time
She was still
standing than
sanding.
anything else.
They say that restoration is 90% sanding.
That is true. I resemble that. That is true.
That's all.
So I understand you're into the 40s through 80s. So what's special about the cars you're working on, and why do you select certain ones to work on?
Um, well, generally, honestly, a lot of times it's components. Once you get past the mid 80s, the components and the fasteners and everything of the sort changes a lot. There's a lot of things that went from metal to plastic and the tools required to do those later cars. Now we'll do some stuff up into the 90s, early 90s, one that's because what we really grew up with, tearing apart and wrecking and, our youth. So we have some familiarity with those. But once you get any later, we just don't have the equipment or even the knowledge necessarily to do it. We'll have often people will come in, especially when there's like hailstorms like we had 2 weeks ago. and they will be, oh, I need you to fix my car. It's an old car. It's a 2000 whatever. We're like, oh, sorry, that's way too new for us. And they look at us like we're aliens. They're like,
Old
it's
enough.
25 years old, 26 years old, like too new. And it's like, yeah, it's too new. So mostly that, and it's where our passion lies. There's anywhere from the beginning of the automobile up into the 90s. I consider things that could be hot rodded. Could
Yeah.
all be turned into a hot rod.
Yeah, it's a great range, and you don't have to necessarily be everything to everyone. You can stick in your niche and do, those classics, even if a 2001 is a classic now.
Right. Even though that's still a classic. And
Yeah,
most of the time, it really is getting we say that we build show quality drivers is how we describe what we do, because most of our customers are the few that don't drive them. They're trailer queens, but most of them, their whole purpose of this car is to get it on the road and drive it as often as possible. So it's hard to pigeonhole yourself and say, I'm only doing 70s Cutlass, and I give the companies that do that a lot of props.
Right. Right.
yeah. I mean, we have a customer right now that does a lot of Mopars. He is a Mopar expert, but he's also done Camaros and Model A's, and he's working on a Jeep. I suppose that's kind of a Mopar. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Gearheads and Gasoline. We're going to take a quick break here to share a message from our sponsor, Auto Metal Direct.
Hey guys, you're watching the Gearheads and Gasoline podcast. I'm Jason with AMD. Check this out.
But Jeepster
That's Mopar.
actually, which it's interesting because we're almost done with Jeepster, and he says that is one of the most expensive builds he's ever done because the parts are like,
Yes. Mopar's always pricey.
yeah. Jason's a Mopar guy. AMD's Mopar, big time, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. We're talking about the Cutlass crowd. I was thinking about my personal experience here at AMD. We have a lot of different avenues, and we have, I've got guys that just do Mopar or just do Ford, specialized markets. And then if you get down into just a Cutlass, or I'm a 442 shop or whatever, it can limit you, but also you're the expert, so you have a
Yes.
wide range of those clients looking for you.
And
Yes.
I think that especially, you have the hot rodding custom build space, and you have the hardcore restoration space. And to me, it almost makes sense if you're in the hardcore restoration to pick a brand to work with, right? Because you can learn everything and know everything about that, especially when it comes down to, high end restorations where you got to know where every
Right.
chalk mark and paint mark goes and the right bolts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, custom builds, everybody talks about, I'm on the ARMO select committee. So is Jason, and you're actually going to be on ARMO again, and you're on HRA, but even on the HRA side, it's a restoration. It's still a restoration, even though you may be doing custom panels and
Yes.
chassis and engine swaps. At the core baseline of it, you're still restoring that car, right?
Absolutely. We've had a
Yeah.
lot of discussions about that, about specifically, and those guys that specialize in that one and become experts, that is our source of knowledge. That's who I call when I am building something. And so those guys are absolutely invaluable because they will know where to get that weird unicorn part. They may have it even stashed somewhere in the back of their shop, or they know the guy that knows the guy that has them. And we have had that situation come up more times than I can count. So those guys that are an absolute expert on some of those cars are invaluable. I pray they never go away.
Yeah,
And it
that
definitely the
makes sense.
lines between, yes. And the lines between hot rodding and restoration are so blurred because any car that's being built as a hot rod, it has to be restored first. So yeah, the lines between hot rodding and restoration, I think absolutely blend. To build any hot rod, whether it be a custom, a resto mod, which is the big famous word these days, it has to be restored. You have to start with the restoration. You have to start with getting those trim parts, getting that hardware and the things that make the car the car. Those other special things when people want to change a color scheme of it, granted, that's no longer a restoration to say specifically, but is it not? So, there's those lines.
Yeah, it's interesting too, talking to some of the shops we work with ever since the last fiasco of COVID. A lot of businesses just said, "I'm done," or especially the guys making custom parts, right? And so now they have one supplier, or they're looking for a new supplier, but the lead times are really long compared to what they were before. Are you seeing that as well?
Yes, some. There are several components and stuff that it's gotten better. In the beginning, I don't think the materials slowed down and all that stuff really hit the automotive industry right away. One, we weren't prepared for it. People had the stock that they had. They never expected there would be a huge boom in automotive. I mean, we all went nuts because everyone was stuck at home. So it took a minute for those supply issues to hit us because it took a minute for everyone to realize, oh, we're out of stock. We had a million of those. How could we be out of those? So once everything caught up, now we're noticing that there are a few things and specialty things that there are less suppliers for. So you have to get in line and wait. And, I think the ones that didn't hang it out, I hopefully they'll come back, or the ones that are still around will just jump up their quality, and it's getting better. I mean, I think it's kind of that way
That's
in
good to hear.
every industry.
So on this podcast, we really are focused on one of the things we focus on is how shops promote their business, how they market their business, how they're using the tools out there, social media and things like that. And understand a lot of your business is word of mouth. Want to understand how that works for you, and does the SEMA show, add to that?
Um, we get a lot of flack that we don't advertise enough, which is here nor there. Honestly, we're so busy. I'm not sure that advertising more, other than having our name out there and being more recognized as professionals in the industry, we couldn't get more business in if we tried. We do not have employees. That is something that we're starting to think about, that because, where we want to go, we're in the middle of some growing pains. There are worse things to happen. But I think that word of mouth in our area goes a very long way. We are a under recognized portion of the country for being automotive enthusiasts. And people don't realize how many racetracks are in Wisconsin. They don't realize that we have quite a few restoration shops and hot rod shops around the area. It just seems like a very, you hot rod out there, but don't you just have cheese and snow? So, it just, it's people forget about us. Is what it comes down to. But I think that, I mean, we utilize a lot of social media. We have recently delved into the world of YouTube and started playing with making YouTube videos of what's going on and the happenings at the shop during the day. It's a hard market to get into, and it's a lot of editing, and you never realize how much editors and social media content developers do until you start trying to do it for yourself. But yeah, so most of it, our customers attend a lot of car shows, excuse me, so they do the advertising for us because they're usually quite happy and showing off their car, their truck, and there's nothing better than that. The person who loves the vehicle you built, telling everybody in the world why they love the vehicle you built.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have a client that has huge galleries on their website of the whole build process, and he's told us we don't put the most of it are is our clients actually showing their friends, hey, this is everything they did to our car.
Yes.
It does help people understand how they work. But have you been going to SEMA show every year since the first year you went?
Yep. Since 2008, the only one that we missed was 20 when they canceled it. And we were ready anyways.
What do you think the biggest benefit to attending the SEMA show is for you and your business?
Um, I think it's the network connections that we're able to make, especially in the beginning. When we would attend, the first couple years, we built vehicles that were just ours. We didn't really work with sponsors. We had, a couple that we had spoken with, but we were so new that we had to build up a reputation with them. And then later on in the years, we started working heavily with sponsors to do builds. And once that started happening, I think the benefit of meeting these people face to face was I think, best part about it, just to sit there and shake some people's hands and say thank you, because what it did for us and elevating the ability to be able to use better quality components, more expensive components, small shop, no money. So to have sponsors come in and, in trade, we have to do this and this. And the asks always seemed very small to us. We always felt like we were getting the better end of the bargain, and which was good because everyone felt like their backs were getting scratched. So I think that really just the being able to have face-to-face communications with other builders, other people, suppliers in the industry, developing relationships is, I think, what the automotive industry is about more than anything.
Yeah, 100%. And then, to that point, added on what you do in addition to that, where you're giving back to the industry. Really applaud you for all the years of service and, giving
Thank
back.
you. I love it.
So, Amy, you were telling me the other day how long you've been on networks, which for everybody listening to this, within SEMA, there's 9 councils and networks that all 3 of us are actually involved in. But Amy, how long have you been doing it?
I started volunteering in 2010, so this is going into my 16th year of volunteering. And I'm a volunteer junkie. I love it. I think being involved with the industry, I mean, specifically for, like I said, those personal relationships that I have developed over the decade and a half I really do. I associate a lot of my identity with what I do and the associations that I have with the other people in the industry. And so it's been an absolute honor to be so involved.
Yeah, we're happy you're coming back on the ARMO Council.
I'm excited.
And I saw the same thing too. I'll just say anybody, especially, I don't care if you've been in business forever as a shop or you're starting, and you really don't look at SEMA as just a big car show. It's way more than that. And the councils and
Oh,
networks
yes.
are definitely here to support restoration, all the shops, anybody in the business. And there's, like, again, there's 9 councils and networks. And I noticed, I can tell you that I felt a whole different vibe the first year I went to SEMA and I had that hard card, the badge on for ARMO. People had longer conversations, deeper conversations. People would actually take the time to talk to me. So, and I've got lifelong friends now from that. So it's a huge.
Absolutely.
I said this before many times on the show that it's a big family. So anybody listening, get involved, and even has a volunteer at large. All the councils and are looking for people to help out, to get involved and see where it goes. Is it can be huge. I'll say this: don't get involved as your first thing to say, hey, this is going to help my business succeed. That should be like 3rd through 5th. Get involved because
Yes.
you want to volunteer, that you want to help the industry and things like that. So yeah. Well, tell us more about that, Amy. How has it affected your business, your life, as far as, the secondary, the 3rd or 4th thing I said, it does help business eventually, but don't go into it because of that.
Yes. Well, started because I'm an idle hands type person. If my hands are sitting still, I'm bored or getting in trouble.
Same.
It all really started in 2010 when I was on Facebook and I saw this weird post from SEMA, who I was we had gone to the SEMA show twice, but we were very, very peripherally involved. We were just a builder that had a vehicle there. We walked around, we, went to these banquets. We really didn't talk to people. And it was just such a huge thing. And our shop was so small, it was clearly just kind of a thing for us. So in 2010, I went on Facebook. I signed up for this. They called it the Yen Power Tour. And Yen was the Young Executives Network. Now it's the Future Leaders Network, which the networks are fantastic for anybody wanting to get involved as an individual, because that membership is made up of people instead of businesses. So it's a really great place to start if somebody who works in the automotive industry, even if they work in a repair shop, they can get involved in these networks and really start seeing what the SEMA family is about. So going back to that, I got this email and it says, hey, you've been accepted to the Yen Power Tour. And SEMA was going to send 10 of us. It was going to be 5 drivers, 5 passengers, randomly pair you up with somebody you didn't know and go on a 5,000-mile road trip. I'm like,
Wow.
awesome.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
Yeah.
And they sent me the thing back. They said, well, I'm sorry. We need you to be a SEMA member. You're not a SEMA member and we can't have you participate. So I emailed back and I'm like, oh, well, thanks, but no thanks. We're just a 2-person shop. SEMA's obviously just too big for us. We're just too tiny. So, thanks anyways. And I got a personal call from the membership director of SEMA, and he spent 45 minutes on the phone with me, essentially telling me why I was an idiot. I mean, flat out, why I was an idiot. That no, Amy, no, this SEMA is for you. It is designed for your small business. It is designed for everything you do, for the community, the opportunities. He's like, ridiculous. And so from that moment on, I realized that we wanted to be involved. And I also wanted to make sure that everybody else who had that perception I had was corrected like I was, because it was huge. It was absolutely huge. I went on that Yen Power Tour. I started volunteering, and here I am going through, terming out of one council, going back onto a council that I termed out of already. It was unbelievably impactful getting involved. It was just the Yen group. When I joined it, I was almost too old, because you term out of that at 40.
The Gearheads and Gasoline podcast is proudly sponsored by Redline Synthetic Oil. With a legacy of excellence and over 100 premium products, Redline provides motor oils, gear oils, assembly lubes, fuel additives, and water wetter for the automotive, racing, motorcycle, marine, and industrial markets. Known for their exceptional quality and technical expertise, Redline is trusted by enthusiasts and professionals alike. Discover their full range of products and expert support at redlineoil.com.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win.
Formulated to win.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Formulated to win, proven by me.
Proven by me.
Proven by me.
Redline Oil, formulated to win, proven by me.
So I was very late to the game getting involved, because I only had 2 years there. Changing over into another council, being involved with ARMO was just a huge eye opener. Once you get involved with the councils, and you have, at the time, I think we had 12. We were a pretty large council. We had 12 other like-minded people with very different opinions, which is so important. Like-minded but different is huge. It's just like Barry said, it really is. It's a family. It's an extended family.
And it's interesting. Yeah, I think we're back up to 12 actually now, because we added a couple last year, a couple more slots last year. And we're a marketing agency that works in industry specifically. That's our focus. Jason's manufacturing and parts. We have a couple shop owners on our council, right? We have a couple other manufacturers. So you get a great mix of the restoration space, the aftermarket space in the networks. And the council's actually, one of my team members joined SBN, and she joined SBN and is a member at large that is helping out on 3 different subcommittees. And I said, are you nuts? But anyways, I wanted to talk, I know you don't have employees, but one of the things we touch on a lot is about youth engagement in the industry. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. And you did say you're thinking about adding an employee at some point. How does that look for you?
The youth engagement, we have a lot of kids. We are literally across the street from a high school. So every year there's always at least one or two kids that are hang-arounds, and they're my favorite kids. They're usually the ones that honestly don't do super great in academics, but they're sharp as a whip. And so they want to come around, they'll hang out, they'll, clean up a little bit, sometimes part hunt for us, and then we start sanding, and then they're out
I
of
was going
here.
to say, do you have them
So
sand?
yes, we
Yeah.
try. I mean, we try. And honestly, I am not joking. Every single prospective student that we've had, the second we start sanding, they're out of here. It sucks. I know sanding sucks. You still got to do it. But, so with that, we have our shop is only 4,000 square feet. So we don't have a whole lot of room to add people with the two of us bouncing off each other. In the summer, it gets a lot bigger because all the bay doors are open and we utilize the parking lot. So, that's great. Being able to connect with the youth at the high school. I work with their SAE team and they have a little racing team. And so we go back and forth helping them with parts and just really trying to keep them involved. Um, and just really trying to convince one of them that sanding isn't the end of the world. So
Right.
I do a lot of that. My other real big youth engagement thing that I love is participating on SEMA's scholarship committee. That happens once a year. We're just finishing up reviewing all of the scholarship applicants' submissions, and that is like having Wizard of Oz's behind the curtain view of what's coming. I mean, the kids that I would say probably 95% of them that fill out the applications are pretty much well spoken, driven, and have some crazy out there young people ideas of what they want to do with the industry. So it is, you're kind of looking into a crystal ball, see what's coming, and you can
You
almost
can
see
learn
some of the
how they're
trends of
thinking.
the industry. It's
That's
awesome.
that's pretty cool. One of our team members, Keith, he didn't do it this year, but I think the last 3 years he's been on that. He's supported that and been part of what you're part of right now as far as selecting students for the scholarship. So that's pretty cool. We've been involved in that. And what do you wish young people would like? How do I say this? What would you wish young people would know about the industry or think about the industry if they're interested in, coming in the industry and work? Because I know that here locally we have a restoration shop that in our high school that is a full resto shop. They're doing all sorts of stuff, but most of them either aren't full like him or they really focus on collision work and things like that for dealerships and working at dealerships and stuff. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on that because I don't know if even the schools that are offering restoration in the high school space or body shop, let's say that, not restoration, but body shop, are actually informing the kids that there's more out there.
That has been a struggle for many years, that a lot of the kids that are going to either in high school shop style classes or post high school and doing automotive tech colleges, the dealerships often come in there and scoop them up before they even graduate and give them a great job with benefits, a good pay, making money, and that's hard to compete with. It's hard to tell. Like, I just have a daughter who's just graduated who's struggling finding a job. I mean, she's brilliant and she's struggling finding a job. So these kids coming out and getting offered this, that's very hard for us to compete with. The ones that stick through are the ones that we want anyways. And a lot of these, dealership kids end up coming our way into the cool side anyways. But I think that's, the message is that there's a place for everybody. There is a facet in the automotive industry for everybody. A lot of people get pigeonholed to think that it just means that you're going to either be a grease monkey and all you're doing is oil changes, or even to the point of us that they, like cars, but they don't want to build them. I mean, that's not of any interest to them, but they love them. So, one of my best examples is a few years ago, many years ago, we did an all women's build out in Clearwater, Florida, and we had women from all over the country come in and participate. And they would come in and they would be with us for like a week, some of them 2 weeks. And one of the gals that came, she was a handbag designer, a purse designer for a very well known purse designer people. I'm not me, not my type of thing. But they would send her like all over the world. She would go to China and Japan and Europe and all this stuff for this handbag designing. And she came out, knew nothing about the industry. We got her in the paint booth. She started painting. She was one of the most accomplished painters I've ever seen. Out of the gate, she quit her job and now she's a painter in the automotive industry. So there is,
That's a 180 for
she
sure.
was making big money. She like quit everything and started over to go into entry level painting position because it took her that much. It grabbed her of like, I can do this too. So there's a space for every young person that could possibly want to be in there. We need people who market, who are photographers, are editors, are writers. It doesn't always have to be the dirty and the greasy and the sanding, but there is just something for everyone. I think the kids just need to understand and really recognize if they have any interest at all in cars or the way the world moves, there's room for them.
Nice. Yeah, I've spoke to numerous kids at our local school here about the same things you just said. I said there's a lot of, if you love this industry but you don't want to stand on cars all day or paint,
Right.
but you want to work in the industry, there's lots of opportunities outside that, from marketing to social media, social media stuff to, if you're a computer guy, a lot of shops have CAD and 3D printers and all that stuff. And if you want to be a guy that just hunts down parts all day, that's a position. And Jason, you can talk to Automotive Direct. I mean, I know at least 3 of you there that are big car people too.
Yeah, yeah, it really I'm thinking about it, and the conversation, if you're listening to this or watching this podcast, is really, putting yourself out there and giving back to the community and the next generation. Just give them the opportunity to see what's going on. Give them the opportunity to, look behind the curtain, see what you're doing. If they like sanding, great. Amy is looking for a sander, and that's how you find those people, is putting yourself out there and getting the exposure for all the above. Like, we can use people that are in logistics, that can, load a truck, that can sweep a floor, that can
Yes.
do website integrations and API stuff and AI integration with our, all the above. So there's a lot of different avenues, and giving that exposure is really important.
Yeah, there's a lot out there too that need event support, that go to a lot of these shows and they need people on the ground at the shows to help out. And because there is a ton of big shows out there in the automotive space. So
Yeah.
that's cool, Jason. Amy, let's shift a little bit. We talked about a woman in a small shop working side by side with your significant other, but how does being a woman in this industry, how do you look at that? What struggles have you had, and how do you want other women to think about it? Because I know I'm involved with a lot of women at a SBN. We actually have one of them, Katie's on SBN, one of our co-hosts here. And I know that there's a lot of women out there, I can't work in that industry. It's all men. What's your thoughts?
I think it's changed drastically since I first started in the industry. Absolutely. I've seen the changes. There's almost a line of age where the impression from more of the silver-haired crowd, or sometimes, I'll still get a lot of, oh, sweetheart, or if you call on the phone and I'm looking for a part, are you sure that's what you're looking for, sweetheart? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's what I'm looking for. But I really think a lot of that is gone. I think that the space has really become equal. I think the biggest thing is like, I am very much over the I am woman, hear me roar. That was kind of the thing back then. And it's like, yeah, and well, no, I really need somebody who's stronger than me to do certain things that, physics and science. And there are things that I am just not capable of doing because I'm barely 5 feet tall and I'm just not strong enough. So I've got a big, strong 6 foot plus guy that can do the heavy lifting. Now I have little hands. So when it comes to wiring, I'm the one that's sticking my hand all the way up in the dash and getting beat up by it, So as I said earlier, the strengths and the weaknesses of each participant. And I think that really goes along with all of it. Women are innately known for having more attention to detail. So there are things that, we
Heard that.
can, it's just one of those things. That's what they say. And so it's just the finding your niche. And I think anybody who's really against it is just so far out of the times that their opinion just doesn't damn matter anymore. But I don't think I think that it's still kind of a struggle just because there is that masculine thing about cars and hot rods and, being dirty and going fast. But as we've seen over really the last decade, the lines seem to have really blurred. I think any woman who is I know that still happens, and I think it happens more at the family level where they are discouraged as to going into the industry, that the impression from the people closest to them is that this is never a place that you could be successful. And I think just getting past that and having the right mentors and the right teachers and the right us to tell them that's so silly and not true. Come on, come and play,
Yeah, that's important for people to remember and think about. Donna went to a webinar yesterday by E10, Emerging Technologies. I think that's a council, and I can't remember if it's a council or network.
They're a network.
There was 3 amazing ladies on there that were, oh my God. I was like, man, they're smart, because I'm like, some of that stuff was going right over my head. But
right.
So there's those jobs as well in the industry. What is the toughest part about running a small shop with just the 2 of you? What's the biggest struggle that you've?
I think our work-life balance is absolutely awful. We don't hate that, but if you go to any professional development seminars or business seminars, that's one of their first most coined things that they say is figuring out work-life balance. And so to take from that, ours sucks. And we're okay with that. We have definitely developed our lifestyle surrounds our passion for our business. It does make it difficult sometimes. You take it with all the roses and the shine and all of that, but sometimes it is tough that I would like to do something different today, but I can't because I don't have an employee to do it for me. I can't really delegate. If I delegate it to EJ, it may or may not, I might get a depending if it's a my job thing or a your job thing. We occasionally have our very union discussions of, who is responsible for what. And so it really is. It's just kind of a balancing act to try to keep some defined lines occasionally with work and with life. We were a lot better about it before our daughter went off to college. And then she went off to college, and when we didn't have that, other person that we were responsible for did not have a shop be a full-time life. And then it was all out the window. And then
Today's podcast is sponsored by Motorhead Digital. Motorhead Digital are digital marketing experts for your automotive aftermarket, restoration, performance, race, and restyling shop. They help you supercharge your shop's website, social media, and entire online presence to attract those badass customers you're looking for. Check us out at motorheaddigital.com.
it was all out the window. And then we're like, oh, well, we can stay until 11 o'clock tonight. Who cares? We don't have a kid to feed, So, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest struggles is just really trying to maintain that.
Yeah, I think that's tough for everybody. Jason.
Yeah, I definitely, I run into that myself is, because the 3 of us and most people listening are lucky enough to have the opportunity to work in an industry that you absolutely love. It's a passion, it's a hobby,
Yes.
it's a job, it's everything involved. So, those lines get blurred. And, when you have that outside grounding, like a child or a spouse that's not into it, that can help, bring more, I don't know, work-life balance or just a change of pace. But I totally get it. I'm the same way. It's like, I love this stuff. I love
Right.
everything about it. And if I have a unhealthy work-life balance from somebody outside, I don't really care. I love it. I'm doing what I'm loving to do.
Yeah, there's I'm to the point age where people are saying, "Hey, so when are you going to retire?" So first of all, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. My hobbies after retirement are very expensive: cars and firearms and competition shooting. Um, so I
That's
what's that, Amy?
that's right. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, it's
Shooting.
expensive. Both of those hobbies are freaking expensive, but I also stay in it because I love what I'm doing. I love our
Right.
customers. I love the industry. Getting involved with SEMA was one of the best things that we ever did. We used to ask a question. We always ask a question on our intake form about when did you feel you were successful? And it's kind of a trick question because a lot of people go, am I successful? I don't know. I don't, you know. So, Amy, what's your thoughts on that? Because you're pushing 20 years in this business. You've made it that far. You must have some feeling of success.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, yes, I think that is kind of a tough one. I find that the small things of small successes that we've had, I think just making the decision to transition into this industry from something that, we were doing very, very well at, and then throwing it all away and starting from over. I think that, as silly as it sounds, that was a success. So I think every step along the way, we're kind of, if it's meant to happen, it usually works out a lot easier. I mean, not that you don't have to work for it and fight for it, but that working for it, things line up when it's supposed to happen. Finding our building, buying our building, and moving into here, and so the small things. And I think that also having that allows us to have achievable goals. That if we're saying, okay, well, our marker of success is that we have a 1 million square foot building and 500 employees and whatever. Well, what's the likelihood of that really happening? I mean, that'd be great. And if that's what, well, actually, that wouldn't be great. I don't
That
want
would
that.
be great.
Hey, actually, you really think about it. No, you don't want that. But I think it just helps having those manageable, achievable goals, the things that, what is our next step that is going to make us happy and make us feel fulfilled? Then that becomes our immediate success.
Nice. I love that. I think, a lot of shops would love to have a car at the SEMA show every year like you do. That's a success in itself to have that. Uh, I mean, there's deadlines for customer builds and things like that too, but I think building a vehicle for SEMA every year puts a lot of extra, I'm guessing, puts a lot of extra pressure because you have a solid hard deadline for that too.
It does. When we do our own shop build, it's weird. We've discussed it both ways. So, like when we've had a customer vehicle out at SEMA compared to one of the ones that belongs to the shop, uh, it's a weird. It's definitely more stressful having a customer vehicle out there. One, because we're taking their vehicle 1,700 miles away. There's always that little bit of scare there, but it does. I mean, this last year when we took the 55 out there, we're still in that same vehicle. They're working on our 26 SEMA build hardcore, and then getting our 25 SEMA build done at the same time. So it's kind of we call it organized chaos. Most of the time, we actually really thrive on that organized chaos. And like I said, with the kid gone out college, these late midnight, 2 a.m. nights are just a thing. Just a thing.
That's cool. Having the organized chaos and understanding your goals. The big thing is goal setting, right? And not biting off more than you can chew, right? Understanding that if you're going to commit to something, you have to deliver, right? Um, the one question I have for you is, are most of your customers excited to go to SEMA? Do they want to go to SEMA? Because I've talked to other shops and the customer, nobody, they're not interested. I think it's more of not understanding.
I think, yeah, a lot of them are. The last couple were, really, really thrilled. The vehicle that we did in 24, the customers actually ended up coming back out to SEMA for 25 because they enjoyed it so much. In the automotive industry in an outskirts way, they came back out, even though they didn't have their own personal vehicle out there again. It was such a cool experience for them to see what was going on. The very first customer that we had come out with us to SEMA, he was one of our more picky customers, but it was the coolest experience seeing it through brand new eyes. That, we had been at SEMA and been doing it so long, I think we get a little desensitized for it, and it just kind of becomes a head down work thing. And so to have them out there and just see the glow and the twinkles in their eyes, I mean, that was very, very cool. So when we have customers out there, most of the time they're really excited. The truck that we're taking this year, we had talked to him about it going out last year when we've had this vehicle for a couple of years here now, and he wasn't interested. And it just wasn't something that he, really had thought about. And then I think he started researching what SEMA was more and what it really meant. And then he approached us a couple months before the SEMA show last year. He's like, so could I get it out there? And I laughed out loud. It was still in bare steel. I'm like, for 26.
Yeah,
So
right.
he's really excited now. I think that it just took a second. I think that was exactly what it was. He wasn't quite sure what it was, really what it meant for his vehicle to be on the world stage with some of the, best of the best builders in the industry, just to have that opportunity to have his vehicle there. And so, yeah, he's pretty stoked.
Well, let
Yes.
me ask you, so when you're talking to a customer about, hey, this a potential SEMA show vehicle, how do you approach like cost and transportation and where you're going to have the vehicle? What does that look like for you guys?
Generally, when we sit down with them and I start with the customer, it's like, I want a wish list of everything in the world that you could possibly imagine that you want with this vehicle. And then we'll work from there. Then we talk about where that fits in with budget. Because, of course, at the end of the day, it's about the dollar. So once we get through that, one of the questions on there is, are you interested in this vehicle being displayed at the SEMA show? Um, we it doesn't change how we build a vehicle. Every vehicle that we build from ground up that comes out of here is a SEMA quality vehicle in our plans and everything we do to it. So it's absolutely quality to go to SEMA. It's just whether or not they want it. A lot of times the biggest decision making thing is that for shipping for us to Vegas is about, well, on I don't know this year, but about $6,000. And if it's their vehicle, I will cover the insurance, I'll cover all that, but they have to pay for the shipping. So that's usually, a factor of what do they want to put another $6,000 into this build that they probably already have six figures in. And then if they want to attend, do they want to spend, as cheap as Vegas is these days?
It's not cheap.
It's insane. I saw that the Heart Attack Grill is closing.
Oh,
So
no.
sad. Yeah, they're finally just bailing and the owner had a whole article in the paper about that exact thing that, Vegas has priced us out and is pricing out the middle class. And when you're spending $40 for avocado toast, that,
No kidding.
right? But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
so that's usually
just
kind of
not
a factor of whether or not they want to go out there is that shipping. It's usually kind of the only thing that ends up holding somebody up is that they want to have that. Most of them want it on that stage.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's the biggest hurdle we run into. I'm on the booth car team for the Armo booth, and people go, they want to put their first thing they ask me, we'd love to put our car in your booth. Are you going to pay for shipping and room and board?
Mm-hmm.
And we just can't. SEMA
Yeah.
doesn't have the budget for it. And that's one of the biggest hurdles. There's some amazing vehicles out there we could get in our booth, and they just don't. They're not there because of that. And that's not SEMA's fault. It's just not budget wise. It just doesn't
No,
make
and that just is. It's especially a lot of, I mean, it really is. A lot of the customers have put a significant amount of money in there. And then with the trip, with, staying, the airfare, the feeding themselves and shipping, I mean, you're talking probably a minimum of an extra 10 grand under their bill. And they just, for a shop, if it's a shop build and it's their own vehicle and they don't have a customer supporting it, it does become nearly impossible. I mean, that's when we do a shop vehicle, it's a tough year. We're spending a bit of time catching up. And granted, we do have some sponsor companies that we work with, and that's awesome. But as people very mistakenly believe, that does not pay for everything. It's some components. There's still tens of thousands of dollars of components that we're putting in, not to mention, thousands of hours being a shop vehicle we're not getting paid for. These are labor of love type projects. And even with, I mean, we're terrible about it. And I know that every builder is, we give away a lot of hours. There's things that we want to do that it's not up to the par of what we think it should be. So we spend a significant amount of more time on it than we had initially planned. And I don't feel that it's, your fault that I wanted to be super, super picky. So I'm not going to bill you for that extra 5 hours that it took me to do it. And I mean, we're terrible about that. It's shame on us. Any business person's going, no, but it's just how
Yeah,
builders are.
yes, no, I think that's a value thing too. Bringing, going the extra mile with some things brings customers back, gets referrals. You said most of your business is referral. Hey, that adds to the value of working with a shop like yours or any business for that matter. You know, um, you said I just had to touch on this. You said something about people's eyes light up when they're at the SEMA show and they really realize what it is. Um, I have two team members going to the show, being part of our team this year. That one is not a car person, and one is a biker chick. That's what I call her. And she's the one actually helping on SBM. But they're both going to be there this year, and I cannot wait to see them go. Holy crap!
Yes.
Because they don't understand it. I know they have no concept of how big that show and what it really is. So I got one last question for you, and we'll go into our speed round here. You talked about work-life balance. Do you do anything outside of work, and what is that?
If my daughter's home, I am with her. She is my favorite person on the planet. In the winter we don't do anything because it sucks and it's 4 degrees,
They're the
and
same here.
so we don't do anything. In the summer, we do a little camping and hiking. Both of us like to garden. We have an awesome dog named Scarlet who, she's takes a bit of our time, but yeah. Sadly, a lot of that is like, oh, well, what are we going to do this weekend? Let's go to a car show. So, and she loves it too. So we're lucky that she's super into it, or we're working on our own personal vehicles or Jade's vehicles. So yeah, it's it's kind of balance. It's ish balance.
What you love.
Right. Exactly.
That's pretty.
Jason, anything else?
No, I'm still, stuck on what a great job you do being an ambassador for the industry and putting yourself out there. Shops big and small should take note, and we really appreciate your time today.
I love it. I do.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for being here. All right, we're going to do a speed round here. I'm going to 4 questions. What's your favorite driver or team, hot rod, muscle car, or truck?
My favorite driver, team, hot rod, muscle car, or what?
Truck. Driver and team is if you're into racing, any kind of racing. That's what that is.
Oh, good Lord. This is supposed to be a speed round, right? I don't have a favorite car. I love them all. I cannot pick. I love them all. My favorite personal car of my own is my 4-door 57 Chevy Bel Air. I drove my daughter to grade school, kindergarten, high school every single day in that car to and from. So
Very cool.
There
That's awesome. All right. What's your favorite tool in your toolbox?
Oh,
Not sandpaper.
the BFH. Definitely the BFH.
Love a good BFH.
Fix anything.
5 pound or above,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. BFH.
All righty. Do you have a favorite racetrack, automotive event, or car show?
I love the meltdown drags. That is one of my favorite race track events. We have a small racetrack close to here in town, in Byron, Wisconsin, and it's right next to the old nuclear plant. So it's called the Meltdown Drags. They also have the Fallout Drags in fall. And it is just
cool.
super small town drag racing. One of our friends' daughters has been racing in it for years, and you can camp right there on the track. It's a super, super fun. That's one of our favorite weekend summer events.
That's cool. We have a local track here that's literally 2 lanes of blacktop with grass in between, and that goes down towards the cornfield. And there's literally grain silos right at the starting line.
That's pretty much what this place is like, except at the end of the track is the big nuclear silos.
Wow, cool. You have to send a picture of that sometime. I want to see that for sure. I love the name. The names are perfect for those events.
I know, it's so fun.
Hey, so here's the one that everybody usually knows right off the bat or really has to think hard. What's the best advice you've ever received and from whom?
The best advice I've ever received is probably, from my dad, that don't try to fix a problem that isn't there yet. Sometimes I am a planner, so sometimes I'm always trying to make sure this is all good in the end and it's not a problem yet. So he's like, just step back. It's not a problem yet. So don't try to fix a problem that you don't have yet.
That's perfect. I've never heard that one before, but yeah, you start thinking about stuff that's not a problem and spending time on that when you have other stuff that are actually problems at the time you should be focused on, right? All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks, Amy, for joining us today. Amy, can you tell us where people can find you, reach out, and stuff like that?
Yes, our shop, Cool Hand Customs, we're located in Middleton, Wisconsin. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all by that name. And check us out.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. Jason, thanks again for hopping on as a co-host. And this is Gearheads and Gasoline, where we're fueling your success.
We know you don't want to miss an episode, so don't forget to smash that bell so that you get notified of every new episode. Click that like button, leave us a comment, and share with your people. And visit us repeatedly. We love it.